Sony's 50mm f1.8 lens. Cute little guy, isn't he? At $200, this is a true nifty-50, and it's a lens you should probably have in your bag. And we're going to talk all about why today. Before we start, to all you subscribers, welcome back and thank you. And if you're new here, my name is James. I'm a photographer based in Las Vegas, and this channel is all about making photography simple. And today we're talking about Sony's version of the nifty-50. What's good about it, what's not so good, why it's so cheap, and why you should have one in your bag. Okay, first, why is the nifty-50 so cheap? Well, it's not just because it's a bare bones, no frill lens. I mean, sure, there's no aperture ring or programmable buttons, and it's not encased in metal, but it's also because of the pure physics of manufacturing a 50mm. And this is because of the size and curvature of the lens, among other things, but the bottom line is the 50mm is right at that sweet spot for the manufacturer to save a ton of costs in manufacturing this. The result is that the price to quality ratio is awesome. Still, why should this be one of your first lenses and probably your first prime? Well, if you're new to photography, the nifty-50 is the cheapest way to get that super shallow depth of field, the blurred out background and bokeh. And this helps separate the subject from the background and just makes the image more appealing, cleaner, and it makes it look a little more professional. But when you say portrait lenses, people typically think of the 85mm first because this is such a flattering focal length for those gorgeous portrait close-ups. But the 50mm is also pretty flattering and can actually allow you to include more of the environment without having to back up an extra 10 yards, say, for a shot, which you sometimes can't even do indoors. And because the 50mm angle of view is about what the human eye sees in focus, it gives a natural feeling to photos, so they're not distorted or feel like they're too close for comfort. Then, being a 1.8 aperture lens, it's great for low light photos and video. See, by opening the lens all the way up, you can let a ton of light in for faster shutter speeds and lower ISO. And this, of course, makes your images sharper and less noisy. And this lens is so small and lightweight and compact, it's super easy to just toss in your bag and you almost don't even notice it's there. And because it's so cheap, at least compared to other lenses, if you accidentally drop it, well, you wouldn't be devastated. As for performance, I found the nifty-50 to be sharp where it needs to be, and the colors are great. Chromatic aberration is pretty well controlled, and the bokeh is pretty darn good. Okay, so what are the drawbacks? Well, you aren't going to get those tack-sharp, edge-to-edge landscape photos. It's just not in the cards. But honestly, that's not the point of this lens. It's for cheap access to shallow depth of field and low light capability. That said, autofocus is not as fast as the more expensive versions, and it definitely hunts for focus sometimes.
Here. It went this way.
And the autofocus is pretty loud, which is not ideal for video with sound, but this really doesn't matter for B-roll. Also, you're not going to get any good macro shots of this lens because the minimum focus distance is about 18 inches compared to about half of that for the Zeiss 40mm. But hey, that lens is $1,300 and this one's only $200. And last, there's no in-body stabilization, but for Sony full-frame cameras, they almost all have this, so it's probably not necessary anyway. And so who's the nifty-50 for? Personally, I think it's for everyone. Whether you're a beginner or a seasoned pro, you'll find this lens super helpful and fun to use in a ton of situations. Just toss it in your bag and it's there when you need it or just want to experiment or play. But you tell me, do you have a 50mm already? Do you want one? What would you use it for? Let me know in the comments below. Okay, I hope this super short video was helpful or at least a little entertaining. And if you feel like it was, please hit that like button as that definitely helps. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that little notification bell to stay in the loop around here. And I'll see you in the next video.